Welcome back, Algebra 1. Today we are going to be working with some more statistics and data and that kind of stuff, and we're going to be working with box and whisker plots. Now, they're going to look kind of funky, but they're really going to help us to get a good picture of what is actually going on with our data. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take the data that I have and I'm going to rewrite it in order. Okay, so from smallest to largest. So the smallest one, we've got 3. And then we're going to go up to 6. Bam, there you go. I figured you wouldn't mind me editing that out, so just saving some time. So the numbers are all written in order. Now the next thing that we have to do is we need to find the middle number. Where is our median? So I don't want to cross these off like I did in the last video. I'm just going to mark them because I don't want to have to erase all of it. But marking the smallest and the largest. Marking again the smallest and the largest to eliminate those. Smallest and largest. And continuing here. Smallest, largest. All right. So as I look at this, we've got 15 and 16 left. Okay, those are the last two numbers that we have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put a mark right there in the middle of those. Okay, so you can actually write it down. I really think it's going to help to write it down. If you want to just imagine it's there, that's fine, but man, I really think it's going to help if you write it down. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to come down to this bottom part and find the middle of that. Okay, so let's do the same thing. Smallest, largest, smallest, largest, smallest, largest, and I'm left with 11. Well, that's fantastic. Okay, I'm glad there was just one there. That makes it kind of easier. So I'm going to circle my 11 so I don't forget that. And then I'm going to come back up and do the same thing on the top. Smallest, largest, smallest, largest, smallest, largest, and I'm left with 19. Okay, now I've got all of the points that I need. Here is my very smallest one, is 3. My largest is 28. And I've got everything else. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to draw a line down here. I'm going to put my smallest point at this end. That was 3. My largest point on this end, that was 28. Okay, now let's just kind of get an idea of where different things would be. So if I would count halfway between 28 and 13, that's going to be approximately 15. So maybe I'll just put 15 about right there. I'll say that that's 15. And then come up and count. Maybe we'll call that 20 and that one 25. We can count down. There's probably about 10 and there's about 5. Okay, so I've kind of got my number line going from the smallest one to the largest one. Okay, that's good. Now the next thing we do is need to mark these 3 points. First of all, let's mark the middle. The middle was just between 15 and 16. So I'm going to put a mark there. And you know what? I think I'm going to go back to using red for this one. So I'm just going to put a mark there right between 15 and 16, or where I think that's best. All right. Then I'm going to go down and mark the other two, 11 and 19. So we marked the middle. Then we marked the middle of the middle, which was 11. And the middle of the top one was 19. And we'd already marked our smallest one and our largest one on here. Okay, so let's just pause and go back and talk about what we did. First, we just wrote them in order. Easy. Anybody can do that, right? Then we found the median, the middle. So we counted backwards and going in, and we found the middle, and we marked that. Then we went to the smaller side, and we found the middle of that. Then we went to the bigger side and found the middle of that. That's all we've done. All we've done so far is find the middle of stuff. Then we're going to write this and mark these on a number line. So my middle I marked was 15. My smaller one down there was 11. And my bigger one up here was 19. Now, all we have to do is make our box by closing these in. Make our whiskers by drawing it out to the smallest and the largest. Okay, and we have made a box and whisker plot. Now, let me show you a couple things. This first point that we put in there, we already called it. We know what that is. That's the median. That's the median, the middle point. The middle of the smaller one down here, that's called the first quartile. And we're just going to call that Q1 for the first quartile. This top one up here is going to be actually it's going to be 3. Now, it may seem like, why don't we call it Q2, quarter 2? Well, let me explain why this is so handy now, and that'll show you why that's the third quartile. Here's why it's so handy. We've kind of got 4 sections here. Right here is a section. That's section 1. Here's section 2. Here's section 3. And here is section 4. And in each one of those 4 sections is a quarter of our data. 25% of our data is in this first whisker. 25% of our data is in the first part of our box. 25% of our data is in the second part of our box, and 25% of the data is in the last part of the box. So if we've got 25% each one of those places, that's a quarter, right? So our first quartile is right there because that's where the first quarter ends. The median is halfway at the end of second quarter, right? 2 quarters out of 4, 2 out of 4 is halfway. Then our third quartile is where the third one ends, Q3, and then the end of our whisker is where the fourth quarter ends. Okay, so we've got the median right in the middle. The first quartile is the smaller one. The third quartile is the bigger one, and then we've got our maximum and our minimum. Okay, so that's how we do it. Put the numbers in order, find the middle of the smaller one, find the middle of the bigger one, draw a box around them and add them out to your whiskers, okay? If you need to see that more, go ahead and watch this again. But I want to come down here and actually use these. So I've got a box and whisker plot that's already drawn up there, and these are SAT math scores. So I've got a question. As you look at these, what percent of students scored above 560? Well, on our box and whisker plot, 560 is right there. So if I want to know what scored above 560, that's right there. That's our upper quartile, right? That is like the highest it goes. So we know that each one of these is 25%. 25%, 25%, 25%. So if I want to know what percentage of students scored above 560, I'm just looking at this part up here, and that's just 25%. 25% of students scored above 560. What percent scored below 400? Well, now I'm looking at this part. Below 400, that also is 25%. Next question. What percent of students scored above 500? So let's find 500 on this. 500's right there. So now I want to know above 500, that's this part and also this part. Well, 25% were in this first part, 25% were in this second part. So if I want to know total above 500, that's going to be 50%. Next question. What percent of students scored above 400? Well, let's come down to 400 right here. So I want to know this whole part up there. So it looks like I've got 3 sections of 25. So above 400, that's going to be 75%. 75% of students scored above 500. Okay, so let's go back and review and talk about how they could have made this, or how you're going to make a box and whisker plot when it's your turn. So with a box and whisker plot, you just have to put them in order and find the middle, and that middle is going to go right there in the middle. And then you're going to go down to the bottom part and find the middle of that, and then you'll mark that with another line on a line graph. Next thing, you're going to go to the top part and find the middle of the top part and mark that, on your number line. And then just change this into a box. So you've got the middle, and then the middle of the bottom and the middle of the top, and then put the lowest score, the lowest piece of data you have, and the highest piece of data you have, and draw your whisker out to it. All right? Pretty cool stuff. I know I'm a little bit of a stat nerd and a math nerd, but I think this is pretty cool, and I know you can do this as well. Good luck.